Was Texas a good race? Joey Logano picks up his first win of the season, and is Brad K washed at this point? Welcome back to Break Hard. I'm Matt. Getting used to the time difference. Watching a race 6 hours behind East Coast time, certainly an interesting experience for sure, but I'm getting kind of used to it. Hair's a mess, I know that. But let's get into what we want to talk about today. We're going to start off with, was Texas a good race? Now, by Texas standards, it wasn't terrible here. And dare I say, Texas mildly entertaining at this point, after it used to be one of those racetracks where we were like, blow it up, build a Buc-ee's there. I don't care. We don't need to go back to Texas Motor Speedway. Now it's like, okay, it is a bit of a wild card here. And I think that my feelings about Texas, and specifically this race, have been influenced by the last few races that we've seen where they've been lackluster by the standards of what we've come to expect at those certain racetracks. Bristol, Martinsville, Talladega, to throw those in there, even Darlington as well. Maybe not the best races we've ever seen at those racetracks. And we get this race at Texas, which is outside of what we've seen over there. On TikTok, I gave this race an 82. I was wildly entertained by this. I don't love cautions. I don't need cautions to make for a good race. Did it help make this race entertaining? Yeah, you can definitely argue that. But I thought that there was enough things happening on the racetrack and strategy-wise, for the most part, that made this a pretty compelling race. On YouTube, I might dial that back down a little bit, maybe give it around like a 79-ish in there. This was a passing race. This passing grade race, not necessarily a passing race. We'll get into that in a moment. But when I look at it by Texas standards, not that bad. We had Texas-sized amount of cautions. We had 12 cautions for 73 laps. So maybe that's what they mean by everything's bigger in Texas. But overall, this race wasn't terrible. The racetrack could certainly still use some work. I think we all agree there. But compared to what it was like when they first did the reconfiguration and the repave and then put all the PJ1 nonsense on the racetrack to what it is now, it's a decent racetrack at this point. It's treacherous, super sketchy still, but it makes for an intriguing race. So let's get into the race real quick here. Like I said, Joey Logano picks up his first Cup Series win of the season. Bold prediction on me for this year was that he would not win a race. But when it comes to these wild and crazy races, these races where you get a bunch of cautions, a bunch of weird things are happening, Joey Logano seems to capitalize in those moments. Nashville last year, 2024, tons of cautions. Joey Logano put himself in position. He goes on to win the race. Same thing happened on Sunday at Texas. Weird race, a lot of cautions, like I said, 12, and he manages to go on and win the race, put himself in position to win. Hats off to he and that entire 22 team. That's how you win races. That's how you win championships. People are like, oh, he backed into a win. Putting yourself in position to win is not backing into a win. Jimmie Johnson made a career off of putting himself in position, running well enough to capitalize at the end to win those races. And that's what Logano did. So hats off to him. Stage number one, though, you had Noah Gragson going for a spin. Spin class was going to be the theme of the day. I don't know if they have spin classes in Dallas. Might not be their thing. But there are a lot of people going for spins on Sunday. Then you had Denny Hamlin in pre-race at driver introductions, gave the horns down. I'm a fan of that. One of the softest fan bases in sports. Ohio State, Texas, soft. Then he goes out there, and that number 11 Progressive car just absolutely grenaded. I don't know if Progressive covers massive engine failures, but that engine ceased to be an engine. No longer wanted to do engine things. Just a fireball underneath the car there. Spun out, I assume probably because of his own oil on his tires. His day was done, and immediately Texas fans were on the internet being like, oh, it's instant karma for Denny Hamlin. Listen, if this offends you, you got to worry about other things in life. Austin Cindric went on to win stage number 1. And it was like, oh, is Austin Cindric going to go back-to-back and win, races, win his first mile-and-a-half race in the NASCAR Cup Series? Is this Austin Cindric's coming out party? No, it was not. Going on into stage number 2. Well, before we get to that, when I talk about races being kind of good or not, we had 6 drivers lead 19 laps or more. That's a decent indication for that you had a pretty decent battle up front. I will say there were multiple lanes to be had on this racetrack. You could run bottom, you could run middle, you could maybe try to run a third lane if you wanted to, but it got a little bit sketchy, and we saw that happen with a number of different drivers spinning out there. But for the most part, you could move around. I know there's at one point where we had all the top 5 drivers were all within a second of the lead. Really impressive to be that close. Passing was difficult, though. Passing was difficult. I'll definitely say that. I saw people being like, I'm so tired of hearing about dirty air. Listen, we heard about dirty air in the Gen 4 cars, Gen 5 cars, Gen 6 cars, Gen 7 cars. race cars will inherently always have dirty air behind them. They just will. That is just how aerodynamics work. We got to move on from the dirty air part. Can you make it easier? Yes, you can. And are the things that could be done to this car? Sure. But when it comes to dirty air, that term, we're going to hear it forever in racing. Just is what it is. So in stage number 2, you had Chase Briscoe. He went for a spin. That 19 team feels like they really got to get something going here and have like one of those really true breakout runs. He went for a spin. We had Josh Berry, the leader, the guy who looked like he was about to pick up another win for the Wood Brothers, give them a multiple win season for the first time. And oh my goodness, we're talking nearly 30 years, I think, maybe, which would have been absolutely crazy. He ends up spinning. He goes high in turns 3 and 4, hits the bump, and just unsettled that 21 car, spun him out. He hit the wall. Listen, they've got a lot of mile-and-a-half speed and probably would have been contention to win this race had he had not spun out. Hate that for he and that entire Wood Brothers team, but they are dangerously quick. They just have to put the entire race together. Kyle Larson goes on to win stage number 2, and it looked like Kyle Larson, this was going to be his day. Once again, he won the Xfinity Series race on Saturday. Is he going to win the Cup Series race on Sunday? Well, you already know he won't. Then as this race kind of progressed on, it felt like we're going to get down to a point where we're going to have a lot of cautions in this race, and that's exactly what happened at the end here. You had Noah Gragson, Alex Bowman, and others get involved into a big wreck. You had another one that had Kyle Busch, Austin Cindric, Cody Ware, I think, was in it. There was a number of different incidents where it collected a lot of people. Kyle Busch had 2 incidents in the final 50 laps of this race. Not ideal for him, and he was not even the final 50, definitely less laps than that. And he was in contention to win this race. Once again, that 8 car had really good speed and just was not able to capitalize on it with that 7-Eleven sponsorship on the side there. Then it looked like Michael McDowell was going to steal this race away, using some tire strategy, get himself out front. And it felt like that was going to happen. Those Spire cars were trimmed out. They were designed to be up front, not to be in traffic, the same way that Carson Hocevar was as well. Hocevar also ended up in an incident on Sunday. Not great for him. But McDowell gets the lead, gets past, and then just absolutely lost all the handling on the race car, smashed the wall coming off of turn 2, brought out a caution, went checkers or wreckers, and it looked like he was going to get that mile-and-a-half victory, but ultimately he did not. Sets up another late race restart. Joey Logano captures the lead. Joey Logano sails off to victory there, and it's got to have Ryan Blaney fans who had the race. He had the race in his lap. All he had to do was capitalize on the restart. Doesn't get it done. They're probably sitting around the bathtub getting ready to throw the toaster in it. Once again, hold off on it. He's gonna get his runs. He's gonna get his wins coming soon. But ultimately, it was Logano that goes to victory lane. Notable top 10, though, for Legacy Motor Club. Both of their cars in the top 10. Eric Jones got a top 5 finish. Really, really good run for them. Kyle Larson's car faded in all those multiple restarts, and he was just never able to get back up there and contend for the lead, despite having led 90 laps on the day. Overall, okay race. Definitely not the worst Texas race we've ever seen. Entertaining because of the unpredictability. Do we need to go there twice a year? Absolutely not. I'm totally fine with this. Do they need to reconfigure the racetrack? The only thing I would do would just be to put turns 1 and 2 back to the way they were to match turns 3 and 4. And I think you'd have a pretty decent racetrack once again, and maybe repave the whole thing with a asphalt that is absolutely going to wear, because we're like 7+ years post repave. And while it's lost all of its color, it hasn't really lost any of its smoothness. It's not coarse or anything like that yet, despite sitting out in that Texas heat all day. So I would maybe like to see that. But overall, pretty decent race. Last topic of the day here. Is Brad Keselowski washed? I like Brad. I think Brad is a great asset for the sport. I think Brad made the right move, becoming a team owner and everything like that for his long-term future. But for his competitive future, I'm still not sure it was the right move to do. Yes, he won last year at Darlington in that 6 car. Fantastic for he and that RFK team. But this year he's been really bad. Through 11 races, 0 top 5, 0 top 10 finishes, 3 finishes in the top 20, 8 finishes of 26 or worse. That is really, really bad. He currently sits 32nd in the point standings. He's only ahead of 4 other full-time drivers, and he's 1 point ahead of Riley Herbst, who's a rookie in the Cup Series this year, and then he has Cody Ware behind him as well. It's just a really bad run for Brad K to start the season here, and if they're not hitting the panic button, they absolutely should be. They need to get out like a Gallagher Sledge-O-Matic and just start beating that panic button because something is not working here. Call up Rodney Childers, beg him to come over. I just don't think the Jeremy Bullins experiment is working. And I think maybe that falls on what we saw with him over at the Wood Brothers as well. I think Jeremy Bullins was a good Gen 6 crew chief. I don't know if he has translated to the Gen 7 side of things as efficiently as he did with the old car, because look at the Wood Brothers this year, wildly fast. New crew chief over there, new driver as well, but man, has their performance uptick been way up there. I'm not surprised to see the Wood Brothers running well this year, where we used to be in the past, we'd be like, oh my God, look at the Wood Brothers, they're up here, that's really cool. I expect them to be up there now. Josh Berry, great driver. That team really turned it around. Now it seems like that same sort of just missed speed, lacking speed is now with the 6 car, and Jeremy Bullins seems to be maybe the common denominator here as well. So I think they need to make a crew chief change over there. They got to do something going forward. I know people talk about, oh, is Brad on his way out? Is he going to retire? I don't see that happening yet. I don't see a clear successor to Brad as it currently stands, unless they want to go out and get a guy like a Sam Mayer or a Sheldon Creed, and I don't know if they want to do that quite yet. If Zane Smith was still on the market, maybe he's the guy that they would look at for the future, but for right now, I think they kind of are where they are in a sense, and I don't think Brad's ready to hang it up yet, but man, has this year just been absolutely brutal for him. He leaves Texas just once again having another bad run, disappointment like being a Texas Longhorn fan, and hopefully he figures it out going forward, because I would hate to see him kind of, ride off into the sunset with just the most subpar, horrible season that you've ever seen. So he can turn it around. Obviously, one win puts him right into the playoffs, right? One win changes everything for him, and he's still got Daytona and another Atlanta on the calendar before the playoffs start, so he could possibly get something done there. But when it comes to speed at other tracks, he is just not even in the same room as even his teammates at this point. The 60 cars started to run really well with Ryan Preece. The 17's running decent as well. And then the 6 is just out here like Ralph Wiggum, just wandering around, not really sure what is happening. So interested to see what happens there in the future. Let me know your comments. Do you think it's a good race? What would you rate it? Race overall, thoughts on Joey Logano winning, and Brad K. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TikTok at BreakHard, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at BreakHardBlog.